Hi, and welcome to a brand new episode of Sipping Tea with Suzanne. I am the fabulous host, Positively Suzanne. And as you know, I'm spotlighting phenomenal woman for Women's History Month for the month of March. And what a perfect way to end with the phenomenal Miss Maria. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
Um,
Thank you for asking.
Anytime. I'm so glad you're here and you wear my favorite color. So,
I knew that.
yes, you do. I mean, I'm a pink girl,
Right.
right? Yes, no, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for wrapping up Women's History Month. And, we have some more excited news to share.
Share.
Sure. All right, cool. All right, so give me 2 seconds. All right, so as always, I'm so grateful and thankful for our loyal viewers and subscribers who tune in week after week. Whether you're on YouTube on the Positive Vibe Studio or on Facebook under Positively Suzanne, I appreciate you. Shout out to our executive producer Paul Anderson, who makes the magic happen week after week. I just got to show up and look pretty, and that's quite easy. So, girl, gotta love me. But
You're gonna love some of my themes tomorrow.
God. So that is the news we have to share in a perfectly divine move that could only be orchestrated by God. You
Mhm.
are ending the month as my phenomenal female for the month, Women's History Month, and tomorrow at the I Got You Sis Women Summit, which is happening tomorrow from 5 to 9 at the JMAC, you are our keynote speaker.
So honored. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for saying yes. And I'm gonna apologize on here because you just got back from vacation.
Literally.
Like literally just got back. And if you know what she does, but she is a full-fledged lawyer, partner, owner of a law firm, then you're on vacation, you come back. So I'm assuming you had one or two things to take care of.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
Mhm. Not too much.
Not too much. And then we're like, Wednesday we're on Sipping Tea with Suzanne.
That's right.
And then Thursday
Hey,
we're a keynote. And
that's
then
right.
Friday, the State House is joking.
Phenomenal women. That's how we do.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
No, I really, I'm so glad and I'm so inspired by women like you. And I'm so grateful when I have an opportunity to talk to you guys and just really to hear your story and just, to inspire the audience because I
Mhm.
think oftentimes, isolation makes us believe that we're alone.
Mhm.
Nobody has gone through what we've gone through, right?
Mhm.
Or
So true.
everybody's winning.
Mhm.
And,
If you believe social media, that's how it is.
exactly. And, I
But the truth is something
it's
different.
completely different.
Yeah.
And, I try to tell people like I share on social media. Yes, I tend to share more my wins,
Mhm.
but I also mention like, I have losses. I have had more losses than wins. But, I've kind of look at it like that. Like in the moment when I lose,
Mhm.
it hurts.
Mhm.
Um, but then I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
like it's their loss.
Mhm.
It's not me, it's them,
Mhm.
you know.
And, isn't it interesting that in those losses and in that pain,
Mm,
something else is born, right? Our resilience, our
mm,
determination.
mm-hmm.
And it just, works to embolden us and make us stronger.
Absolutely.
And then the next time we're prepared for that win.
Absolutely, absolutely, and better prepared to
Hmm.
handle it,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Better prepared to handle it. So, once again, thank you so much for saying yes. Welcome to the show. Just wanted to start talking about, Maria.
Hmm.
So, you are a lawyer. As I mentioned, you're the partner, you own your own law firm,
Right.
and, we'll discuss the what type of law that you did. But when you were a little girl, was that something that you had dreamed of?
No, originally, since I was little, I can remember I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
And later on, as I got older, and there was a series of events that I will touch on, but I'm going to talk about in more in detail
Come
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Come tomorrow to the summit, please, so you can hear all the details about what I'm going to talk about. But just to sort of,
Mm,
touch on it a little bit, I attended a summer camp between eighth grade and high school. I was representing my middle school. They picked two students from the school to represent the school at this digital corporation summer camp. And so they picked representatives from the different schools to come to this 2 week summer camp. And they had a bunch of careers there for the 2 weeks. And, they had medical too. And so up
mm,
until that point, I thought I was going to be a doctor. But they had a legal one. And I was just like, what is this? Like, what's going to happen?
Mm.
Let me try something new.
Yeah.
And so I did. I chose the legal one for the 2 weeks, and there was going to be a mock trial at the end of the 2 weeks. Everybody was assigned a role, and I was assigned the role of an attorney. And so I went through and prepared my case for the 2 weeks, and then we did the trial at the end of the 2 weeks, and there was the judge, and then the attorneys, and the witnesses, and all of that. And I fell in love with the law.
Oh.
And I was 14 years old, and
Wow.
I've never looked back. I
Wow.
went into high school knowing that I was going to be an attorney and hopefully one day a judge.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
what I noticed is, the role of the judge was like, that's what I want to do. That is
Yes.
so cool. It's so important and so,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
interesting,
Yeah.
that role. And so, I mean, it's so unusual for young people to sort of know so early in their life what they want to do and sort of really
Absolutely.
just stick to that.
Yeah.
But really, that's how it was for me. I mean,
Wow.
throughout high school, I did the Model Congress Club. There was a trip to DC. Every opportunity I took to be able to sort of be prepared for what I. To do, I took, And when
Wow.
I went to college, I was pre-law. I was a history major, but I was pre-law. I knew. I just knew.
Like you knew, like you got the bug,
That was
like
it.
to a camp, and then like no looking back,
That's right.
and zero regrets.
Absolutely.
Zero regrets.
Absolutely. It's the biggest honor of my life to be able to,
Mm.
be in this role because it's so important. I'm an advocate for my clients, and I just love being able to help people
Mm-hmm.
in this way. You know what I mean? Legal justice is not something that easily comes to people, and
Mm-hmm.
certainly also doesn't come to people that don't have the means sometimes.
Mm.
It's important that we all have a fair shot,
Mm-hmm.
when we go to court. And,
No,
so I
absolutely.
take it so seriously, and I'm really honored when clients hire me and believe in me. And, this summer it'll be 25 years I've been practicing
Wow.
law.
Girl, you don't look it.
Thanks.
You do not look like you've been practicing law
That's
for 20.
great.
Yeah.
Beneath here,
Let me see a clap.
well, that was an appointment 2 weeks ago. Check with me next week. They'll be there.
The little
Promise you.
secrets, right? The little secrets.
That's
But
right.
no, no, and you're right. Not everybody like just like get this bug and then they follow it because you
Yeah,
try out different things. That's what it
right.
is to be like in your teens and your 20s. You're right.
Right. And when you go to college and you take different classes and you
Yeah.
try different things, and sometimes you change your mind, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And that happens. That's what I'm saying. It's what's normal, but not me. And I was like, oh
Mm.
no, this is what I'm going to do. I mean, it took me a little longer. I got
Mhm.
married young, and I got married my junior year in college and had a baby. And so,
Oh.
I had to make some adjustments
Mhm.
to, college and how I was getting there and getting my credits and all of that. But a few years after graduating college, and I went to law school.
Oh,
Decided to go to law school.
you did
I
it.
did it.
And you became a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And no, is there any other lawyers in your family?
No,
Oh.
no. I was actually the first person in my family to go to college.
Oh, wow. First
Yeah,
generation. Oh, that's
yeah.
wonderful. That's just always,
And many have followed since then, yes, but I was the
I
first.
love it. That is so powerful though, when you kind of just, I think, change the trajectory of your family. And sometimes, like when you're doing it, like you're just going to college, like you're
Hmm.
not even thinking of it in that terms. But, because you went, like there's so many others that are after you that's going to go and their story is going to be different. And you change the course of your family's legacy.
So yeah, and all of my relatives that have gone since then, same thing. They
Mm,
changed it for their
they
families.
did.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
did. And,
So
that's what we do.
that's what we do.
That's what we do. No,
Hmm.
I love that.
Hmm.
So I know what type of law do you practice?
Family law.
So you do practice family law.
Family law. So what that is, and in past years, I've done other types of law as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, when you own your own law practice, then you
Mm-hmm.
do other things as well. And that's not to say that sometimes I won't do a criminal case or a different type of case, but usually it's connected to my family law case. For example, so what the main thing that I do is divorce or
Mm.
custody, child support cases,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But in so many of these cases, there's DCF involvement, there's restraining orders that get applied for. You have to defend on behalf of your
Mm-hmm.
client. So you go to another court and do that. Sometimes they pick up domestic violence charges, so you might
Mm.
represent them if they ask you to, in the
Mm-hmm.
district court and defend them, in
Mm-hmm.
that action. So I call those sort of collateral cases that
Mm-hmm.
kind of, but really just stem and come out of the
Mm-hmm.
main family law case itself.
Mm-hmm.
But it can also be other cases, adoptions, guardianships,
Mm-hmm.
other types of cases. And I also practice in the juvenile court, And so those are the DCF state intervention
Mhm.
cases. DCF comes in and takes custody of children from
Mhm.
the parents. And so the kids get an attorney, the parents get an attorney, the state has their attorney. So sometimes I represent the children when I'm appointed, and sometimes I represent one of the parents.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that to me is really, really tough. So, how do you compartmentalize and not like break with every family?
Um, It's a great question. And so I've been doing it so long. So what I didn't mention is that after college, and I went to work for DCF as a social worker.
Oh
So I
my.
did that for 8
Oh
years while going to
wow.
law school nights,
Okay.
for half the time that I was there. So I was already a social worker, already working
Mm,
with families
mhm.
in these DCF type of cases, the
So it
intervention
was
cases,
familiar. Yeah.
sometimes, and sometimes they weren't involved, and you were just trying to help strengthen their family unit, provide
Mhm.
services, advocate for them, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I had already been doing that, by the time I became an attorney, working with families for a
Okay.
long time,
Mhm.
and was used to it, but I loved it. In fact, when I first graduated law school, my first job was in the DA's office as an
Okay.
assistant district attorney.
Oh.
But interestingly enough, what I gravitated and what I asked for was to prosecute the domestic violence cases.
Mm.
Again, because it's so,
You're drawn.
oriented towards victims and families,
Mhm.
and it's where I had just come from. I was a DCF social worker for 8
Mhm.
years. So it just seemed natural to me to sort of want to continue to be an advocate for victims and for children and for families. So I did that for a couple years where I prosecuted those type of cases. So I was already sort of in that trajectory for wanting to work with families. And
Mhm.
you'll hear a lot more about sort of my background, my childhood,
Mm.
experiences, and my background and the things that I have been through.
Mm.
And I feel like those experiences as a child really sort of helped um, set a vision for me as to what I wanted to do with my life later on, and how I wanted to help kids, and I wanted to help families, and I wanted to
Mhm.
help women,
Mm.
because of the experiences and the things that I witnessed as a child.
Mhm.
And so, how do I compartmentalize it? Just I don't. I make sure that,
Mhm.
working with families, working with victims, working with trauma, working with family problems. It's not a 9 to 5 job.
Mm-mm.
It's sort of around the clock thing. There's always crisis after crisis, and we
Mhm.
have to be, or I have to be, very good about separating myself when it's time to go home and
Mm.
de-stress,
Mm.
heal, not worry. It's not perfect. Many nights I'm up, I'm
Mhm.
worrying, I'm thinking, I'm stressing,
Mhm.
because I take it so seriously, because these
Mhm.
families and the clients rely on me so much for the
Absolutely.
outcome of these cases.
Mhm.
Whether they're fighting over custody or they're fighting over things that
Mhm.
can alter the rest of their
Mhm.
lives, their children's lives, in terms of who gets custody, or what the parenting plan looks like, or,
Mm.
oh my God, how much am I going to have to pay? That's going to alter, my life, and
Yeah.
these worries. And I take that really seriously, but I take vacations.
You do,
I,
and we're gonna talk about that later on,
yeah,
girl,
I
because
hope so.
you
I
take
hope so.
this vacations, darling. You
That's one of
deserve
my
it.
passions, is travel.
Yes.
So it's important that we take care of ourselves. You don't
Mhm.
last in this type of practice or law
Mhm.
without doing some self-care, some serious self-care. I mean, you got to get
Absolutely.
away.
You
It
do.
can't be a, all the time thing. It'll wear you. And I have
Mhm.
so many colleagues that, don't even like, don't touch it. It's like, I'll refer that, they refer out these family law cases to
Mhm.
attorneys like myself that been doing it for a long time, but really love it. And
Mhm.
I really do.
Mm.
When I was telling you about being in the DA's office, I just remembered why I told you that. Because I sort of was going on and on.
It's all right, girl. I'm here.
Yeah. When I left the DA's office, I almost went back to DCF as an attorney, because it was
Mm.
what was familiar to me.
Mhm.
When I left DCF, it was because I graduated law school and was becoming an attorney, not because I didn't love my job and wanted to leave. In fact, when they threw the going away party for me, I cried, because this was like my family. This was,
Mhm.
the work that was so important, and I really enjoyed doing it and really was
Mhm.
passionate about it. And so when the opportunity presented itself to, DCF came a call in and said, "Hey, come back and,
Yeah.
be an attorney for us." I actually accepted the position and then went back to resign. And I remember I sat with the DA in person to, say thank you for the opportunity. And he talked me out of it. And he said, "You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into just
Mm.
one thing. Don't do
Mhm.
that to yourself. You're going to have a long career. Try different things." And I said, "Okay, you're right." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm sort of gravitating towards what felt,
Mhm.
most comfortable to me. And I really need
Mhm.
to, take that good advice. So I stayed longer, but then legal aid came calling.
Okay.
and to do family law.
Yeah.
And, again, that's working with victims of domestic violence and their family law unit because their funding came for the VAWA grant. And so the priority in those cases and family law cases was for victims of domestic violence. And
Hmm.
so, I was just like, no, this is my calling. Family law was my favorite class in law school. I mean,
Wow.
I took everything in law school, and
Hmm.
my favorite class was family law.
Family
I've just
law.
known.
Hmm.
It's just, when you know,
That's it.
you know.
That's it. When you know, you know.
So yeah, I worked for Legal Aid for a couple of years and then went out into private practice and been doing that ever since. And so I do a combination of like, when I do the state intervention cases and you're a vendor for the state, I can kind of consider that sort of a part of doing some community service because
Hmm.
it's, the pay is not great, but you don't do it for the pay.
You do not.
It's a calling.
Okay.
You need people like myself to take these cases because they need strong, zealous, and good advocates.
No, absolutely. And I think, we need good people in the law. I think we
Hmm.
hear such highlights about the bad ones,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And
That
marginalized
reputation
communities.
for, court appointed attorneys being terrible.
It has been
Right.
like it has been, and it's like
Hmm.
terrifying. And I pray, like me personally, like
Hmm.
I pray like if I ever get in trouble, like I would have the means to
Hmm.
afford an attorney
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
you're right. There's a stigma, like they don't care, like you're just a number to them. They call you off. They're friends with the DA. They sucker you into deal.
Yeah.
And I watch. And funny enough, I actually wanted to be a lawyer
Okay. Okay.
growing
It's
up.
not too late. What are you talking about here?
Yeah,
Paul,
yeah.
let's have a conversation later.
So yeah, I think so. When you're young and you talk a lot and you
Hmm.
argue your case and you win,
Hmm.
people's like, "Oh, you got to be a lawyer." But
Hmm.
I actually was fascinated by the law. But a lot of the shows that I watch, and I think now there's such systemic racism and systems that are put in place that are truly not built for marginalized communities, are
Hmm.
truly not built for women, are truly not built for
Poor
low
people.
income,
Poor people.
poor
Yeah.
people, low income, and so I think that there's so many individuals that do not benefit from it. So I
Hmm.
think when there's individuals that like you that are in the law, I think it's important to, continue to support. So how do you address those issues and concerns?
Um, so I do a lot of things like I volunteer as a conciliator for the court, to sort of
Mm,
help settle cases, so that's donating my time. Back in the day, I also did Lawyer for the Day program. The courthouse has like a court service center where attorneys volunteer their time. And so if you can't afford to hire an attorney, then you go downstairs and you meet
mm,
with, private counsel, who are donating their time to sort of walk you through things, help you fill out forms, things of that nature. So I used to do that. Um, I really work with a lot of clients that don't really have the financial means, coming up with sort of a financial plan that's a little bit more
mm-hmm,
affordable than, a lot of attorneys don't do that.
mm-hmm,
So I do what I can to try to assist in that way.
mm-hmm.
But like, doing the state intervention cases is one way that I, give back in
Absolutely.
that way because,
Absolutely.
what I mean? As I said, it's important work. It's God's work, in my
It really
opinion.
is.
And we need really great attorneys, and we have great attorneys. So getting back to the point
Good.
of people's impressions of court appointed attorneys,
Mm-hmm,
I've had conversations with clients where they're like, should I hire private counsel, things of that
mm-hmm,
nature. And it's just like, listen, there are a lot of really great attorneys that do
mm,
this work. We're in private practice and
mm-hmm,
we train, we go on a list, and
mm-hmm,
so we accept cases or don't accept cases because that's,
mm-hmm,
being in private practice, I can say no or yes,
mm-hmm.
to a case. I
Absolutely.
don't have to take the case.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different than working for, say, the state CPCS, where they're assigned cases and they have to do those cases. And
Yeah.
that's more the traditional court appointed attorneys type of situation.
Mm-hmm,
But with counsel as myself, who just sort of choose
mm-hmm.
to take these cases, we're a group of, at least in the Worcester Juvenile Court, great
I
attorneys,
love it.
seasoned attorneys that love the work and been doing it for a long time. And so I hope people understand that the generalization is just not true.
No, absolutely not. Because I mean, listen, there's so many generalizations out there, and I mean, come on now. But no, I
Hmm.
appreciate you saying that. Thank you
Hmm.
so much for that. So, what if there's someone out there that wants to go to law school or
Hmm.
wants to be a lawyer? They're
Hmm.
in high school now. What advice would you give them?
Actually, been doing this recently. So I'm part of the Tier Community Mentoring Program with the Mass Bar Association. So this
Okay.
is the second year that I've been doing it. And so we have people on there that are high school kids, students, college students, and law school students.
Okay.
And so we have programming throughout the year. Actually, Thursday evening, I can't go to a program, and they're doing a tour of the Worcester County Jail, so I can't attend with that because I'm going to be with you doing the keynote
I
that
can't.
evening. So originally I was going to that, but then things changed,
Just a little.
just a little bit. But I'm assigned as attorney mentor with a couple other attorneys to a group of students from, whether they're high school, college, and law school. And so I'm able to have, like, I've had one-on-one conversations with them where they, have
Mm,
questions and, have advice, are seeking advice, about different things. And I, absolutely love that. I have taken in the past an intern from the Worcester Public Schools,
mhm,
sort of shadowed me for a period of
mhm,
time. And, one way to mentor and to prepare kids who are thinking about going to law school is to work with an attorney to see if that is something that they're interested in. I have had staff that have been so smart and so, what I consider to be such a great candidate for law school that, like, I had a former paralegal who I said, you need to go to law school.
mm,
Mentored her, and she went to law school during the years that she worked for me as a paralegal.
mhm.
And so she did go to law school and graduate law school.
Oh.
And I had a relative also who one summer she was attending college and did a summer with me while she was in college. And at the time, I think she was a psychology major. And after summer with me,
Mhm.
decided, no, I want to go to law school and I want to be a family law attorney. And I thought, oh my God,
Oh,
it's real so
that's so
cool.
cool.
I think
Yeah.
she's practicing 10 years now, family law
Oh,
attorney. So absolutely love mentoring, and I love,
mm,
you know what I mean,
mm,
bringing along women, and especially women of color who want to be
mhm.
attorneys. I'm just so, thrilled to be able to, pave the way for more of them to come.
I love that. So, since I mean, you do a lot of mentorship and you give back so much to the community, was there any mentors in your life that, you felt helped you along the way? I mean, you knew that what you were getting, but again, getting in that
Mhm.
industry and
Yep. Yep.
as a woman of color,
Yep.
were there any challenges?
There were
Or is
challenges.
that a part of your story tomorrow? I don't want to touch on.
It is, but I do want to answer it briefly.
Okay.
So I will talk about that tomorrow because this is why I'm so passionate about mentoring, because I didn't feel like I had the appropriate mentors. I to this day am so indebted and so grateful to my high school guidance counselor, and I will say her name, Christina Singer. And I hope you're
Mm,
well wherever you are,
okay.
because so I had lost my mom. You'll hear about that tomorrow. And came to live in Worcester when I was 13 in high school. And so by the time I went through high school and was getting ready to apply for college, it was my guidance counselor who walked me through all of it,
Mm,
all the applications,
mhm.
the writing of the essays, applying for financial aid. In fact, she was one that said to me, "Oh, by the way, when you go to BC, you're going to join the band." I said, "I'm going to what? I don't play any instruments." And she's like, "Oh, no, no, no. My daughter was color guard for the band, so you'll do the like twirling thing and whatever." And I'm like, "I will." I did that the first year, right?
Did you?
I sure did.
Did you? How were
She,
you?
I no, I got good at it. They trained you, and
How
so
awesome.
was in a marching band as part of the color guard. Traveled with the band that year.
Oh
Went to
my.
Ireland that first year with the
Oh
football
my
team.
God.
BC was playing Army in the Emerald Isle Classic that year. So as an 18-year-old traveling to Ireland,
I love
with the
it.
band. But she was instrumental. A woman of
Mm,
color, Latina,
mhm,
guidance counselor, and she tracked me. All the years that I was in high school, and
mhm,
advised me year to year what classes to take, and what colleges would
mhm,
require. She was the only one. I mean, I had teachers that I admired and
mhm,
who were, that I to this day learn so much from and think of often. But in terms of mentors,
mm.
she was it.
Yeah.
And in college I didn't have anybody, and at that
Mhm,
point I'm getting married, having a baby, and just trying to figure it out on my own, and didn't really have
mhm,
anybody in college that was
mm,
a mentor for me, and didn't really have any in law school. So
mm.
I just, said to myself, no, this has got to be different for all the other women
Others.
coming, for others coming up. We
Mm.
have to have mentors.
We do.
It's
We
so
do.
important, and
Mhm.
so that's why I'm so passionate about it.
No, absolutely. I think it's so important. And again, as especially for a woman of color, I think it's important for
Hmm.
everyone. But sometimes we're the first generation.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's no one else that looks like
Yeah.
us in that field. And like the isolation and thing that comes along with it, sometimes
Hmm.
just feeling so alone and
The
trying to
fear.
go there. Yes.
The
Like,
fear, like, when I got dropped off to college at 18 years old, and sort of, like,
yeah.
I had nobody, you know what I mean? I didn't have my parents and, I was alone. And
Yeah.
so I had to figure it out.
Mm,
And that's just a scary place to be,
it
you know what I
is.
mean? To not feel like you have that support system.
Mhm.
The college had, you know, uh, students of color organization. I think at the time at BC was called AHANA and stuff like that. But it never felt home there, never felt like
Mm.
supported there, or that that was a
Mhm.
place that I could go to. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that, all the kids that attended there were very, you know what I mean, from a different economic background than I was
Mm.
coming from and didn't really understand each other. It was just a
Mhm.
different culture.
Mhm.
So I actually struggled with relationships while I was there because I didn't feel like I fit in.
Mm.
And I wasn't really accepted, to be honest. There was,
Okay.
sort of a lot of that going on. And so I didn't really develop any meaningful relationships in college as a result of that. And certainly, but BC was very, very supportive of me, the
Mm.
institution,
Mhm.
in that when I got married my junior year and was pregnant, was having a baby,
Mhm.
they switched out my, you're supposed to live off campus junior year. They
Mhm.
allowed me to live on campus junior year so that I can complete my pregnancy and sort of
Mhm.
be able to be supported in that way. And then they allowed me to attend Holy Cross College my first semester senior year and transfer those credits. I had to get
Mm.
it. They said I had to apply and get in, but if I
Mhm.
did, that they would accept because it's another Jesuit institution. So they were
Mhm.
like, because I lived in Worcester and they thought just to,
The
a new
commute.
mother, the commute. So they allowed me to, to transfer
Yeah.
those credits, and I had to commute for the spring
Mhm.
graduating semester,
Mhm.
which I did. So the institution itself not only gave me really great financial aid, but they were supportive of me
Mm.
as a student, and were invested in my graduating.
Okay. I love that.
So
I love that. And look at you now.
mm,
And I know judgeship is on the way.
you could speak it into
I'm
the
a speaking
universe.
into
I don't
existence.
know.
It's gonna
Who
it's coming, girl. It is coming. You might be the youngest judge on the bench, but it's
Oh,
coming,
at this
girl.
point, the oldest. Have you seen the nominations that are coming out? Oh
Really?
yeah,
No,
way younger than me. Way
really?
younger than
Okay, maybe I need to keep up. I'm
yeah.
not seeing it. But I love that, Joe. I love that, folks from different generations
Mm,
and all these things are getting, an opportunity. So we were talking seriously, but now let's go entertainment wise.
okay.
I'm obsessed with TV shows with lawyers.
You are
I
okay.
am. How about you?
Not anymore.
Really?
Yes, I mean back in the day, I was obsessed with Law and Order, but I don't
Yes.
watch a lot of shows anymore.
Ah,
I mean, at the end,
okay.
so I'm raising my granddaughter Ava, and
Mm-hmm.
so she just turned 16 years old, and so she's a competitive dancer,
Yeah.
and so I'm between running my law practice and then picking her up from school, bringing her to dance class. She's in the studio 5 days a week. I'm
Yeah.
just sort of doing a lot of that running around. By the time I get home in the evening, I'm not watching shows.
You
I'm
wiped.
trying to catch up on the news,
Mm-hmm.
and then just sort of moving on to
Mm.
household duties.
Okay.
So watching shows, no, back in the day, I was, like I said, Law and Order, but those days have passed.
It's still on. It's still
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
it's still on.
Good to
Good
know.
to know. So it had ended, I think 20
Okay.
something, and but then it came back. So they're on like season 26 or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And Law on SVU is still on.
Okay.
But I always wonder, like, if a real lawyer is watching those shows, like, how close is it to the law? Like, not even.
Girl, sorry to burst your bubble. It's just like you can't, yeah, just so far from what, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No last minute saving. No.
I'm sorry.
Do I watch Law and Order, Matlock, all of them? There's this one Elspeth that just came on,
Yeah,
like The Good Wife and
yeah,
all that. I've been like, I'm
yeah.
obsessed with it,
Okay.
but I'm like, there's always that last minute save, right?
Yeah,
And within 30 minutes, and
made for TV.
yeah, but you're saying no,
Yeah, no, I mean, I always found when I watched them, like I was always looking for like, what can be like a little bit close to reality.
like yeah, and nothing,
Occasional things here and there, but
yeah,
for the most part, it's just so sensational.
it is. Do get it. There's this one show. It's not a lawyer show, so I don't do reality TV on practice because I
Yeah.
just don't. But there is a show. I'm a mortgage loan officer. There is a show called Selling Sunset
Uh-huh.
that I was like, okay, because I was new to the
She's
industry.
the one that's married to Tarek, right? She's on that
Yeah, yeah,
show.
yeah, Tarika Musa, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So and the other one was
I watch
married to
HGTV
like yeah,
religiously.
that's it.
So if I'm
So
gonna watch
that's how
TV,
you.
yeah,
So I'm
that's
like, how do you know him but not her? Okay. So
So ask me about HGTV and
okay,
we can
I will
talk. We
ask
can
you
have a
for
whole conversation.
HGTV. But so I'm watching this. So I said, I'm gonna watch this show because I'm like, I was new to the industry, so I
Okay.
wanted to learn about real estate.
Okay.
Okay, girl.
Is that not realistic either?
So the houses are beautiful
Hmm.
and they make amazing commission. I don't know how they make it up those stairs in those 6-inch
Heels?
stilettos
Hmm.
or how they sell anything with all that drama. Because
Hmm.
it's like literally like everybody fighting and yelling and screaming. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so I said to Paul, I was like, so I'm not learning, I didn't learn anything. Because I thought there would be some, like,
Mhm.
because calculated a commission or things like that,
Mhm.
like they show it. But
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
thought.
and I know they're probably working behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
all they show is the drama. And
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, so this is so far removed
Yeah.
from what it actually is.
That's it. Made for TV.
Okay, all right, fine. I'm going to continue
I
to
mean,
watch.
even those judge shows, Judge Judy and all
I
this
know.
other whatever. I'm
Even
looking at them. I'm
those.
like, where are the rules of evidence here? Like,
So she can't be screaming at folks like, stop,
screaming.
shut up, listen.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. That they don't have the right judicial temperament that's required for.
Okay, yeah, I know, because she's brutal.
Yeah, she's mean.
Like she's very,
Yeah.
like very mean. Like I pray I would never like be in front of her.
Yeah.
But Jesus,
Yeah.
and I think it's like she embarrasses folks. Like,
Mhm.
but again, sensationalism, right?
Ratings.
Yes, so
She's doing
like
very well.
I mean, oh, she is, of course, but it's okay. But no, thank you for that. I appreciate you explaining. I'm still gonna watch. I'm still gonna watch them save the day at the last minute
Yeah.
and the evidence. But I don't even know if they notice it, but like a lot of the shows that are on, I don't know if it's so ingrained in us, like systemic racism and inequity.
Hmm.
Like you could see it in the shows, and I
Hmm.
don't know if they recognize it. Like it's modeling reality because it's like, so I watch Law and Order,
Hmm.
and like, so the prosecutor's office, like the DA, and like
Hmm.
but the cases that he's studying, he's supposed to be a good man and a good lawyer, but I noticed like Caucasian presenting
Hmm.
clients,
Hmm.
he's has more leniency.
Hmm.
I remember there was one episode, he was like, we don't want to ruin the rest of his life, but I think he had like killed somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
well, he should ruin the
Right.
rest of his life because he killed somebody. But then, like a black defendant,
Yeah.
it was just like it's just like he's
Didn't they
harsher.
didn't they highlight those? Because I think I remember shows when I did watch where that was intentional to sort of highlight the
Yes,
disparity and
yeah,
to highlight the racism so that they intentionally showed us that it's existing. Is that how?
they do, but it's so subtle
Okay.
that you're like, so then and then they kind of like
Or maybe I
explain
just
it.
recognize it
Like,
so
yeah, you
blatantly.
recognize it
Yeah,
so
but
blatantly, but it's
but
like it's just so subtle because I was just like, wait a minute, last week you were advocating for
yeah,
this
yeah.
individual, and it's just like, and I just think like it's so ingrained in society and in the system
Hmm.
that even like, so the obvious one is obvious, but the
Hmm.
other is it's just like,
Hmm.
I'm like,
Do you think
no,
most people won't pick up on that
I
subtlety?
don't think so. I don't think so because I
I
think
and here I thought it was intentional to
yeah,
show us.
maybe they like maybe it's just subtle or over too subtle, but like the way it comes off, it looks like okay, he is being fair
Hmm.
and he's not.
And it's fair.
So it's just like But anyway, moving on. Well, thank you so much for that. And for those of you who want to hear more of her story, you got to come to the summit tomorrow. It's free to attend at the JMAC from 5 to 9, and you'll get to hear this phenomenal keynote speaker. So, yay,
I'm
I'm
excited.
excited. I'm
Me
excited.
too.
So, let's talk about self care because I know you do amazing vacations.
Hmm.
So, when did that become a practice for you?
Um, Pretty much since I was an adult.
Okay.
Taking vacations as always. I love to travel.
Yeah.
I love to travel, and it's funny because I'm remarried, so 10 years now, but I'm in my second marriage, and I remember before I got married, I told my husband, I said, just FYI, there's gonna be a lot of travel in this relationship, or at least on my part.
On my
And
part.
he's like, yeah, sure.
Okay.
But that's just the case. So I always traveled. I always loved to travel, and I don't know if it's because you'll hear about this tomorrow about my childhood. Sort of a lot of the traveling that was done as a child, moving around, do not good reasons.
Mhm.
I don't know if because living in different places sort of gave
Mhm.
me the bug of, oh, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want to keep visiting new places. Maybe
Mhm.
not for those reasons, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Maybe that I'm not sure if that's where it started, but I've
Mhm.
always known that I want to travel and
Mhm.
have always traveled. Even, when I married young and had children, constantly traveling, taking family vacations. I
Mm.
just loved it. And as I got older, I just said, no, I don't want to just take kids to Disney and,
Mm.
to the beach and things of that nature. I want to see the world. And
Mm.
so more recently, I would say in the last 10 years, I've been having more European vacations,
Mhm.
and sort of I've gotten older and have my practice and have,
Mhm.
earned more money. I'm
Mhm.
going to do the things that I want to do with my life and,
Absolutely.
and live my life and see the world.
Absolutely.
So yeah, love going to Europe. Love it, love it, love it. And as much as I'm a beach girl and I'm a Caribbean girl from Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
I love going to Europe. And so last week I was in Portugal.
Okay.
And so, Italy, Greece, my competitive dancers on the USA tap team. So in
Mhm.
October we were in Prague
Mhm.
for the World Tap Championships. So, I'm passing on the travel bug to her. She loves to travel, so she's soaking it all in, and she's decided she wants to travel too.
I listen, gotta work to get it, but yeah.
Work hard, play
And
hard.
that's it. Like work hard, play
That's my
hard.
mom.
You have to. Like you can't just work,
Yeah,
work,
right.
work, and then just go home and
Yeah,
pay bills.
yeah,
So tell me some of the places. I know you mentioned Portugal, Italy, Greece, Prague. Where are some of
yeah.
the other places
So,
you've
like I
been?
said, in college, I went to Ireland.
Yes.
Well, my brother, I don't know if you know my brother, Jose Antonio Rivera, former world boxing champion. Are you
No,
familiar with him?
I am not.
So my brother Jose Rivera was a boxer, professional boxer, and during the years that he fought, I traveled with him, to go watch him fight. I also
Mhm.
represented him as an attorney during some years when he was a Don King fighter.
Okay.
And so yeah, he won the world title like 3 times, and so he traveled not just the country for fights, but he traveled the world. So one
Really?
time when he won I think it was the welterweight belt, it was in Berlin, Germany. So
Oh.
so it's my first time going to Germany. So let's see, Germany. Last week was in Portugal. I'm trying to think of all the places I've been to in Europe. Um, Ireland. So yeah, for the most part, those have been the countries that I've traveled to. I've been to Italy twice because I love Italy. My God, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, I do. I actually really, really want to go there.
Have
So
you been?
no,
No, okay.
yeah, I
I
haven't
love
been. Like
Italy.
our goal is to go there. We
Okay.
wanted to go there during 2020, but then it was 2020.
Well,
So
when you get ready to plan that trip, talk to me.
I shall talk to you. I shall talk to you. Well, actually, with the younger kids, that we did a lot of like Caribbean vacation.
Hmm.
But now that they're older, like I don't have to carry anybody or pack an
Hmm.
extra bag or something like that. They're old enough to walk
Yeah,
now. So
yeah.
we want to do like Spain, Portugal,
Yep,
Italy, Paris,
yep,
different places like that.
yep.
So I was gonna ask you which is your favorite. It seems like Italy.
It is.
Italy.
It
What
is.
what
It
was it
is.
about it?
Uh, well, first of all, I really, really, after Puerto Rican food, my favorite, I love Italian food.
Oh,
And I
right.
love red wine.
Okay.
And Italy makes some of the best, red wine.
Really? Okay.
But so it became my favorite after visiting,
Mhm.
because I didn't know it was going to be my favorite until I actually visited. And so, oh my God, it's just incredible. The architecture, the art, the
Mm.
food, Tuscany, the Riviera, like all of, I can go on and on.
Oh,
We can talk all day about what I love about.
I'm frantically searching for tickets.
Oh my God, yeah, Venice, just
Oh,
everything that,
do you go
you
on the gondola?
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's just amazing. It's just like you see in the movies.
oh
I
my
mean, it's just
God.
amazing.
Okay.
And it's so historical, and that's what I love
Mm,
about Europe. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like last week, and I was in Portugal. It's just the history, and like I
Mm,
said, I was a history major, so I love history. I love learning
yes.
about history. But I also love, architecture. I love taking pictures. You appreciate
Mm.
this, Paul.
Yeah.
And when I go on vacations, I'm just like constantly, everybody has to wait for me. They get frustrated. There she is again, taking pictures. Just like, yes,
Yeah.
it's like a little side hobby of mine. I
Yeah.
think one day, when I retire, I think I'm going to take up photography.
I love
Yeah.
that. Do you have
Mhm.
any plans to retire anytime soon?
Well, not soon.
Oh God.
Soon to do
Right.
that. Soon. When I have more time.
One
You know
day.
what I mean? There's so many things I want to do,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love taking pictures. Yeah. So when I'm on
Okay.
vacation, it's like a big part of,
That's
what I'm doing
Yeah.
is taking pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you love to travel. Let me ask you this: are you an adventurous, like vacationer, like you swim with sharks and climb mountains with tigers and all that?
So that's a little bit much with the sharks, but yes, well, it just kind of depends on who I'm with. So when I vacation with hubby, we like to do the zip lining and the
Okay.
adventure outdoorsy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if I'm with like my best friend, we like to do the sightseeing, the
Mm.
historical stuff, the art museums, the
Mm.
picture taking kind
Yeah.
of thing. So sort of a balance of, both and just depends. But yeah, I love all the outdoor, the swimming, the snorkeling,
Mm.
the sharks thing. No, no.
Did you see on the news what
I
happened?
jump into the cage. Well, I waited with like holding my breath, like, the person die? Like, it takes a long time to get there, but he survived.
It did. Like sitting there, like, oh my god, how did the shark get in the cage?
I
And
know,
it took
yeah.
ever for them to get this poor
Why
guy.
do people do that?
Like, I don't know. And they
Think of it
weren't
for yourself.
sure.
Yeah,
Like those two guys waited to get him out. Like, I don't think they were sure.
yeah,
They were
yeah.
like probably thinking, oh my god, we're
No,
getting
right,
sued.
right,
Or
yeah. Well, I was looking for blood. I
I
wasn't sure what was
was.
yeah,
Oh
no, so
my
yeah, that
god.
can't be me. No, that's a bit much. Snorkeling, I've done many times. You know what I
Okay.
mean? One time, my husband has a funny story. We were in the Florida Keys and we were jet skiing, and all of a sudden, dolphins are chasing us, whatever. It was so exciting, like it's so cool.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's like a fin that comes into now. I'm like, oh, look, a dolphin, whatever. And so he's like, no, we're going back. And then we get back and he's like, that was a shark, right? And so we debate this back and forth because he insists it was a shark. It was a dolphin. We were being chased by a dog. He's like, no,
Yeah.
it was fin. They went like this. The dolphin is the shape this way. And he explained the difference. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. Maybe it's
Because
a
I
good
never
thing.
expected it to come up and went down, and that was the extent of it. So yeah,
Maybe it's a good thing you thought it was a dolphin. Because like you'd panic.
I would panic.
Like
Yeah,
I would have like straight up
yeah.
like freaked out.
No, he
And
did, and he was just like,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So jet skiing, zip lining, stuff like that. But that shark
That's it.
cage
The
thing,
shark thing. I mean, I know folks that have done it, and I'll be powered to you and all that, but
yeah.
like I'll pass.
Yeah, in Mexico, we've done, so I've done cruises with my husband. And I love cruises, by the way. So I've
Really?
done like 8 cruises. So that's another, oh, lots of countries in the Caribbean,
Yeah.
St. Lucia, like, St. Martin. Oh my God, I've been to lots of countries now that I think about it. I've been across
Like you
Mexico multiple times.
Yeah.
I forgot Mexico. I've been not just on cruises, but I've been to Mexico for vacation.
Yeah.
So I suppose if I think about the years and where I've been, that
Yeah.
all the countries will start to come back to me. But the caves in Mexico, so like underwater cave
Hmm.
diving, is so cool. If you're
Yeah.
ever interested in doing something like that.
No.
No.
No. So I did Chichen Itza, and
Okay.
that was
Okay.
the extent because I think like there's a part through Chichen Itza where you can either turn back or like jump in the water and swim through like a little channel thing
Oh,
there.
okay.
Like again, and this was when my daughter was just born, so this was like 18 years ago
Okay.
if I remember correctly. But I was like, yeah, I think that's enough adventure for me.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I don't like to be scared.
Yeah.
I'm more the luxury, lay on the yacht.
Yeah.
you know,
That's nice too.
that's eat grapes and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Wave to you, but yeah, I'll snorkel.
Okay.
I'll snorkel. I had a bad experience in the Bahamas when we went to snorkeling, and I did panic and
Okay.
almost drowned in a
Oh,
whole.
okay.
So that was scary, but I haven't snorkeled since. But I think I'm gonna do it again.
That's right.
But it was traumatizing. So I'm like a little,
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually have a drowning phobia.
Oh my God.
That's like if you ask me, you know what I mean, like what is like your most terrifying way to die?
Really? Yeah.
I would easily say drowning. And that's
Yeah.
because when I was a kid, I actually saw two little kids of my neighbors actually drown in a
Jeez.
community pool where I was living in Holyoke.
Oh.
We were all swimming. It was summertime, and it was the pool was overcrowded. And
Oh
all of a
my.
sudden, I'm like swimming in the deep end, and I look back, and they're pulling out like one of the kids,
Yeah.
and they couldn't find a little sister anywhere. And because my mom was friends with their mom, of course, I was the one running to go tell the mom, "Hey,
Mm,
there's an
this
incident
is
happening with the
happening.
kids." Yeah, and
Oh
so
my
the
God.
other child ended up dying as well. And ever since then, all of my life, I've had like a
Ye
drowning phobia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because I think like drowning is weird because it's like sometimes it happens instantly and sometimes they pull somebody out after they've been on there for a little while
Yeah,
and they're able to get the water out and then they're fine.
yeah.
And I personally thought that like I'm a good swimmer, I'm tall, I'll stand up, I won't panic, but I did panic.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so Yeah.
I can swim, but I'm not. It's so such a strong swimmer that I'm
Yeah.
so confident that I can not drown. No,
Yeah, no,
I'm
yeah.
afraid.
Yeah, no. So I am cautious
Mhm.
like with those things. So, but no, oh my God. So do you do any solo travel?
No, but no,
Yeah.
no. Usually traveled with others.
Oh, okay.
And I would. I
Okay.
have no issue with it. But
You just
I
normally have somebody
yeah,
with you,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
So
What about Bali? Have you ever been to Bali?
no, it's on the list.
Oh my God, girl, my list is
Yeah,
this. Like, maybe I do
exactly.
need to become a lawyer
Maybe
because.
I want to do an African safari.
Oh
Like I
my.
want to Thailand.
Yes.
So I haven't been to Hawaii yet. It's on
Really?
the list.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're doing well. I don't know. We haven't been to Hawaii, so my husband, his thing is this: he doesn't want to fly for 12 hours and still be in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Understood. Makes sense.
does.
That's really far to go and to still be in the U.S.
It is, and Hawaii is expensive.
It's
That's what a lot of people
yeah.
don't know. And like with kids, I've
Great things about going to Europe.
yeah.
You
The
know,
you would
listen,
thought it would be
so
expensive. I hear it's affordable.
hotels in Portugal were really inexpensive. The food, like I couldn't believe it. I had a glass of wine for €4, and the conversion rate is only like a dollar something different.
Yeah.
It's like so cheap. Eat and
Oh,
drink.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I genuinely like want to. But Hawaii, they don't have anything really all inclusive. And I've learned with kids you need all inclusive. Like now they're older where they will order what they want.
That's why cruising is great.
Yes. But
So
I'm
whenever I
afraid
on
of the
vacation,
cruise.
oh, you are okay. On
Yeah.
vacation with my kids over the years, it was
Yeah,
a
the
cruise.
cruise. They enjoy
They
the cruise.
listen, go on a cruise. They have kids clubs. I remember when I took my kids on Carnival. It's just like
Yeah,
go to the club. They hang out there all day. They do
they did.
activities with them.
They
Drop them off.
do.
Go off and do things, and come
Yeah.
back for dinner time. It's like okay, let's have dinner and
Okay.
it's time. And then so a couple days you don't take them, and you take them with you on an excursion and
Mm,
whatever. But for the most part, you go
the
to
cruise
camp.
is good.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you cruised after 2020?
Oh, good question. What year did my husband? So I think the year of COVID is when, so he's going to be 56 and 50. So no, right before, the year
Okay.
before,
Okay.
because it was for the last cruise I did was for my husband's 50th, and so he's going
Okay.
to be 56 this summer. So
Okay.
yeah, that was the last cruise I did.
Okay. See, that's my concern with
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
how they were trapped
yeah,
on the
yeah,
okay. Oh
yeah,
my God, I'm a bad
yeah,
news bear.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Return to normal.
Okay. Okay. Do you
Yeah.
recommend any particular cute cruise line?
Um, I really like Royal Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been on Royal and Carnival, and so
Okay.
once I went Royal, I never went back to
Never went
Carnival.
back.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right.
Carnival's a lot more like a party atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
and so at least with Royal, you have more of a mixture of sort of
Mm-hmm.
people your age plus younger people, and
Mm-hmm.
also depends on where you cruise from and
Yeah.
what time of year
Where
you
you're
cruise.
going and
Yeah, where you're
all
going.
of that.
Yeah,
All right,
if you
cool.
ever take a cruise out of Puerto Rico, be prepared for like noise. My people get on ship and there's like it's like a party 24/7.
Girl, I'm from Jamaica. So
Even okay, I remember one time we did the cruise. It was my honeymoon cruise, so we did it. Flew into Puerto Rico and
mm-hmm.
left out of Puerto Rico and did sort of some of the
Mm-hmm.
islands. I remember we went one of the stops and did an excursion, and we had to hop on a shuttle, and like the shuttle full of Puerto Ricans partying. Like it was just like the one we were on that was quiet, and then the one it was just the music and the hoopla and whatever. Even my husband was embarrassed. He's like, "What are they doing?
Yeah.
They're so loud." It's like, "Hey, it's a party. You're on vacation."
It is a party. I mean, I'm so used to it, but I do think as I've gotten older, like sometimes like I'm out and I'm like, oh my God, turn down the music. And I can't believe I'm
Yeah,
there. I can't
I'm
believe
there.
I
There
can't
are
believe
times I want to party, but there are times where I'm like, no, just quiet.
like
It's
shut it
just
off.
yep, yeah.
Like shut it off.
It's a little bit
Like
much. A little bit much.
exactly. Oh girl, summer's coming. Like we're going to hear the cars,
Boom, boom.
the boom, 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 like just turn it down. I'm on the phone. Like it's just, but I
It's coming.
mean, it's absolutely coming. Like even today, I'm like they're in the middle of the road, and I'm like, could you just give us one more month, like just
It's only March.
before you go crazy. Like I don't know the because we moved to 25. The speed limit to in Worcester moved to
Yeah,
25. I
yeah.
don't know how that's going to impact the summer, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. See, we shall see.
We We shall see. All right. So, do you do anything else with self care? I know that traveling is phenomenal and fantastic, but what about just everyday, daily?
Occasional spa trips,
Okay.
love massages,
Yeah.
for,
Okay.
self-care, stuff like that. I really like to be by myself when I'm home and I want, sort of nobody talk to me, leave me alone, whatever, read, listen to music, stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I really like, so I haven't told you yet, but one of the things that I want to tell you is that um, I'm part of with some relatives in New Jersey. So my hubby has a sister and a brother-in-law that lives in New Jersey, and they're part of like this winemaking club.
Mm.
And so they go to a location in, I think it's Bridgeport, New Jersey. It's called Grape Expectations. And so you just go there and you make wine and you go through this process.
Okay.
So we go in September, October, you taste the different grapes and decide what you want to make. Then you go back
Mm.
for the pressing and the crushing and the pressing and
Oh, okay.
another week. You go back and you do a tasting to make sure it's all coming out good because it had gone into a barrel and it's
Mm.
aging. And then this summer, we're gonna bottle it.
Okay, girl.
So, do you like red wine?
I do not drink.
You don't drink? Can't even share it with you, Paul. Do you drink?
Do chocolate? So if you stop making chocolate,
No, not chocolate.
they can't. No,
No.
no. So I've never drank, and
Oh,
I've just
okay,
never.
yeah. So I love red wine.
Yeah.
And it's just been like really enjoyable to sort of be a part of the process of making it.
Oh, it sounds
So
fascinating.
yeah, I have a 72 bottle stash coming in the summer, and so
Mm.
I'll, enjoy it, bringing it to family gatherings and giving it away.
Cheering
It's
and
been so
yeah.
this is the second time that I've done this, and the first
Hmm.
time like I'm almost out of bottles,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
been quite the hit, and people look forward to it. So
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I'm sorry I'm not gonna get to enjoy it.
I'm sure others will,
Like
especially
I'm
once
sure
once they
others
hear once they hear like
like
Maria,
like
you
like
make red wine.
absolutely like wine. Like you will have enough people to give it to. Like
And so tying into the conversation about travel, when I travel,
yeah,
I especially when I go to Europe,
yeah.
there's always wine tour, winery tour. It's part
Oh,
of one of the if not all the excursions. Here in Portugal,
part of yours.
we did so I'm always going to like wineries. My bestie lives in Vegas, and we're always traveling to California, and we're always doing some sort of wine tour
Hmm.
somewhere, some excursion, or going up and down the coast in California, trying
Hmm.
different wineries and stuff like that. But um, what was I telling you before that?
You're talking about when you were in Portugal.
Yes, so we did an excursion where
Hmm.
we made tiles. We made tiles. We painted tiles. We didn't make the
Oh,
tile, but tile is really big in Portugal. So
okay.
it's sort of part of the architecture and the
Mm.
culture and stuff like that. And we took a class where we learned how to paint on a tile, but it involved wine.
Oh,
There was a couple glasses
about one
of
dozen.
wine, so paint.
I don't know how those tiles came up, but sure. They came up pretty good. Okay. All right, cool.
I'm excited.
Okay, cool. My best friend is in Brazil, and she actually when she got married in Brazil a few years ago, they imported all the wine from Portugal. So they have great wine
Yeah, they do.
there,
They do. And I
absolutely.
tried the local at every city that I visited and stayed in three different cities, and so I
Mhm.
made sure that when I asked for the wine, I said, no, I want it from here. I want to taste
Mm. Not
what
the
the grapes
tourist
are.
thing.
Right.
That yeah, no, absolutely. All right. So in there you also mentioned that you read. What type of books do you read?
So I- I'm in the stage right now where I'm um, reading a lot of different books at the same time,
Okay, I do
and
that too,
that
girl.
only oh really
I
okay.
do.
I thought it was just me.
No, I'm an
No,
obsessive reader, but I'm a mood reader.
oh, no. So, usually in the past, I just read a book until I completed
No.
it, and then, just read
Nope.
another book. And like in the last 2 years, it's this thing where I see a book and oh, I want to read that, and then I'll
Mhm.
start it. But then, like soon after, it's like another book catches my eye,
Mm.
and then I buy that book. And so I'm like
Mm.
reading multiple books right now. I have like 4 books going.
Mm. Yes, I have that
um,
problem.
okay,
It's not just you. I don't know, cause
okay.
like I said, I'm a mood reader. Sometimes I'm reading something and I'm into it, but then something else, like I'm just like in a romantic mood and
Mhm,
like reading a
mhm,
romantic novels, and like I'm reading one about like a psychological thriller,
mhm. Yeah,
and so I love
yeah.
books.
So right now, in the last couple years, I've been much more taken in by social justice stuff.
Mm.
So I'm reading a book by Paola Ramos called Defector because I'm really
Mm.
fascinated by the Latino gravitation towards the far
Mhm.
right and trying to
Mm.
understand why that's happening.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of reading her book about that.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm also into Rachel Maddow's book. what's it called? It's about American fascism and sort of
Mm.
America's sort of
Mhm.
gravitation towards the fascism and what's that looking like and trying to
Mhm.
fight that. Reading a book about anti-Semitism right now because of
Mm.
what's happening. So I'm just trying to like
Yeah.
soak in and take in a lot of
Mm.
what's happening in the world and trying to understand it.
Mhm.
I just purchased 1614, so I
Mhm.
haven't quite opened that one yet. But just trying to, understand sort of what's happening in my world and my community,
Mm.
and educate myself more.
Mhm. No, absolutely. I think it's important. There's a recent one. I don't know if if it's Brene Brown or Mel something another. The let them theory.
Oh,
Have you
no,
heard of
no,
it?
no.
Where I mean, I've been living that theory all my life.
Hmm.
Like basically let people think what they want to think.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's like a whole
Oh,
movement or
oh,
something like let them. Like I've heard a lot about it. I haven't read it. I'm actually not planning to
okay.
because I already practice it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My
Like,
motto.
I read about myself, but like let them. Like so but yeah, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean you're not alone. I mean I do try to finish them.
Uh-huh.
So do you end up finishing them or
So the four that I have going in the past, I yes, eventually did finish them.
yeah.
But these four, it's like it's a slow go.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit, at a time. I would say like last year I read Michelle Obama's book,
Mhm.
Becoming, and so was easily able to just kind of get through that.
Mhm.
I opened up Barack Obama's second book and
Mhm.
haven't finished it yet.
I haven't finished it either, sorry, Barack. Like I did it
His first one, I got through it just
like
fine
yeah.
a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like in the last year and a half, it's just been like,
It's a
because
lot.
what's happening in our world
Mhm.
has been sort of really consuming me and worrying
Mhm.
me. And so I've decided, oh, I have to, that's
Mhm.
a really good topic. I have to learn more about that. And that's a
Mhm.
really good topic. I have to learn more about
Mm.
that. And
Yeah.
so as a result, I've got multiple books going. And so
Mhm.
that's not good. I really need to like, go back to just reading a book, finishing it, and then pick up the next one.
Yeah. Tell me when you learn that because I don't know. I mean, I did set a limit to only read 10 books a month.
Okay.
So I'm trying. Like I unfortunately substitute sleep with books. But anyway, that's a whole different story that we're gonna. So you reference a lot like of what's going on in the world and like that. So how are you? I know that we're coming up on the end of the hour. So how are you dealing with that and navigating what's currently happening? And and you have such a big heart and certainly what you do.
I'm just venting to the people that I trust.
Absolutely.
In the past, I kind of saw my role as trying to sort of talk to family and friends, and I did a
Mhm.
lot of that on social media, and sort of that wasn't really going really well.
Mm.
I learned that you're not going to be able to sort of convince people who are sort of really ingrained in what they
Mm.
think and what they feel and what
Mhm.
they understand, and it's
Mhm.
not really my job to try to change their mind. So I
Absolutely.
decided to work more on me and how I understand things and educating
Mm.
myself because it helps me.
Mm.
Helps
Absolutely.
me deal with my worry and helps me deal with my frustration with what's
Mm.
happening um and 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 so I just really just talk to close people that I trust and really just leave my social media to a focus of
Mm.
positivity,
Mm.
enlightenment, and
Mm.
inspiration.
Mm.
And I think in the last, I would say, year and a half, I've just sort of do the daily affirmation type of
Mhm. Yeah.
post.
Mhm.
And what I found is, and before it was more educational, like
Mm.
voting rights and
Mhm.
all the issues, societal issues that I was recognizing, and
Mhm.
just thought, I got to educate people, I got to share this with people,
Mhm.
whatever. Um, and now I've gravitated more towards the inspirational and the affirmation type of post. And I've gotten such a positive reaction from family and friends about
Mm.
that. I get
Absolutely.
stopped in court all the time from my colleagues. And it's like, I look forward to your
I
morning
love it.
post. Sometimes I feel like it really speaks to me. And I
Mm.
found I'm helping people more with the positivity and not
Mm.
really getting caught up in thinking that I have to help people
Mm.
sort of understand sort of why their thinking and their
Mm.
positions on social
Mhm.
justice issues is wrong. Like
Mhm.
that's not my job.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I think that's a perfect place to end. And
Mhm.
hopefully, those watching, take care of you. The world will be there. Find your spaces, your safe spaces. So thank you
Mhm.
so much for that. Thank you
You're
for coming
welcome.
on.
Thank you for having me. This was
Anytime.
great.
Yeah, no, I had a good time. Like it's like
It
you're
went
just
by
sitting
fast. I
down.
can't even believe
It
it's been an
does. It's
hour.
an hour.
But yeah,
It's just two friends sitting
yeah,
down,
yeah,
chatting,
yeah,
and sipping tea and
yeah,
having a good
yeah,
time. So
yeah.
thank you so much for popping on and sharing your story. I honestly can't wait to
I'm
hear
so excited for
the full
tomorrow.
story for
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
So thank you all for tuning in for the month of March, Women's History Month. Miss Maria Rivera-Cotto, the fabulous, phenomenal lawyer, family lawyer, right here out of Worcester, and our keynote speaker for the I Got You Sis Women's Summit tomorrow. Thank you, viewers and subscribers. Thank you, executive producer Paul Anderson. And
Thank you,
until next time, this is Suzanne
Maria.
saying toodles.